We want to guarantee a diversity of educational forums. Forums meaning the types, the institutions, and the different kinds of methods we use to learn. The problem is that if we say we want open curriculum type situations, where all sorts of things can be taught and there's a huge diversity there, but we don't have the different kinds of ways people learn facilitated, then we're going to have a problem. So it doesn't matter, to the best of our ability, and here we have to kind of answer to the economy, but we might also have to pull the economy along a little bit and say, well, even though it's very expensive to educate certain people in a certain way, this is the way they educate best. And I don't mean that they all say, well, we want education on the beach. And that's what we mean. That can get expensive. We want education in an airplane. These things are expensive. But if it does mean that certain people, and especially, again, I will get back to the issue of disabilities. People need access to the way that they learn best. And this is going to kick the economy in the ass. There may be tiny minorities that learn best in ways that are very expensive. But if we really want a society that's broadly, empowered intellectually, then we're going to have to make sure that everybody gets to learn as best we can, as best as they need to. Restrictions on compulsion, that's going to be another thing. And here we're going to start to see where we bleed into a couple of the other spheres, particularly kinship, where families are, and culture, where religion in particular, and ethnicity. Churches and families getting involved in saying my student or my child is going to learn this. And here, this is one of the most radical statements I think. One of the boldest statements I'm going to make in this class is that can't be allowed. That you cannot force your own children to learn anything, and that you might not even be allowed to control the education of your own children. Right. So, you all skipped youth liberation, so. No, but this is where that plays out very strongly. The idea that in order to have libertarian education, we have to have a diversity of options, and everybody has to be guaranteed those.
But how does this respect different cultures?
Because every culture has the option to. Because cultures can still do all the education that they want to. You can't force people to participate in your culture.
But
it does that respect cultures? It doesn't respect our current concept of culture.
But
you're born into a family. So the fuck what? I'm born into a dictatorship. That means I deserve to have a.
The intercommunalist principle, even as the Panthers had it, was that you have the right to leave the community.
But you can't say you respect culture and then determine what culture is like allowable.
Yeah. No. I see this. Well, but go ahead.
Well, I think that you said parents will not have control of their children's education, but you forgot to say neither will the society. The children will have control of their education. The children will choose what form of education they want.
Right. Well, I'm sorry, I should have said that.
I may feel this may sound paternalistic, but like what some kids don't actually know what's in their own best interest, like especially at a young age.
Like a 4-year-old.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say, like, okay, you're 5, you're starting school now, so you get to do whatever you want, and it's kind of like that seems. I mean, I can understand, okay, but most kids don't have the foresight and wisdom to know that this is what's going to be best for me, and I don't know. That's
so the fuck what?
Unlike teachers who tell them what will be the best for them,
but,
and then they get.
Yeah. Wait.
They don't want to learn how to read.
Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right. When 5-year-olds don't know what to choose to learn, if you compare it on a scale that we just have made, 5-year-olds are not ready to learn to read, and they won't want to learn to read. In this society, we decide that at 5 you start to learn to read. It's against every sort of natural inclination the child has. It actually is. In general, I mean, not every 5-year-old, but studies have demonstrated over and over again. If you let kids decide when they want to learn to read, they'll learn to read 9 years old. The people who read best years later are the people who started to read when they were 9 years old. This isn't really a science. This is just about liberty. This is the issue of if a good society and the society that we want is one where we have to start manipulating and manufacturing children at an early age, well, fuck it. I don't even want to participate in that. If we can say, you know what, let's step back and let people figure out what they want to learn, and it isn't going to destroy our society. I mean, is there a problem with letting kids freely associate and decide what they want to learn?
Especially when you're giving them all kinds of options.
Right, they have every option to learn.
Here's this,
Like,
and this.
I see the direction you're going in, but I guess like the problem I've always had with our society right now is it pretends everyone's a child that needs to be led. But sometimes I think you can pretend that children are children. Like I think at a certain point there are some choices that are inappropriate to give kids, especially ones that like in broad like the reading thing. I agree with you, but I think there are to an extent a family can have a down structure of a sort in which kids aren't given. Like the process of growing up is the process of being kept safe as you learn to make your own decisions responsibly. I think you.
Now, did someone hear in what I said that we're going to put children in fires or ovens
no,
or
I didn't
something?
say that.
You know, I mean, this isn't. All I'm saying is that if we decide that that the way a child is going to grow up is going to be defined and constrained by who their parents are, then we're fucked. And not only this, but we can't even make change this way. We can't. All we do is perpetuate ourselves. Right? A parent can say, there's all these educational options out there, but you don't get to access them. And if every parent has that power, I mean, first of all, it's just purely authoritarian. Second of all, what we're doing is we're saying that, okay, well, a child can't decide what he or she wants to do, but that a parent somehow is so much better at doing that, then why don't we hand that role over to the parents? No, society decides what opportunities are available, and then children are allowed to freely pursue them. This doesn't ever say that any particular culture or any particular familial style or even perspectives on things like gender, patriarchal perspectives on gender can't be taught. What it says is you can't force anybody to learn them.
So do we respect cultures up to the point until they abridge the freedom of others by, like, say, for instance, a culture that demands to be able to raise their children the way they want to? Like, do we not respect that?
Yeah, but that's an element of every culture, and it isn't a culturally distinct thing. There's very few cultures that say, like it's part of our culture to encourage people to seek out other cultures. There are some, oddly, but they're in the minority. I mean that isn't a cultural thing. That's every kind of institution has a tendency toward that, and so cultures are just one element of that where they're all going to want that, but you can't say, well, we're not respecting diversity if we don't allow a culture. You might say we're not respecting a diversity if we don't allow cultures to kill people. There you could actually make an argument that we're not respecting diversity because their morality says they get to kill people. But every culture's morality is going to include that our children get brought up in this culture.
Yeah.
And that's different. It isn't a culturally specific thing, and therefore it is something that we can impinge on. Jessica,
Well, I just wanted to address your concerns about culture also, because I think that there's a tendency to think that if we let children leave the home, then there will be like evolution of culture. And I think that we forget that you still are going to have parents, so you're still going to be growing up around adults that have a certain culture and a certain probably are diverse from others. So you're still going to be able to incorporate tradition with your children, et cetera, et cetera. They want to do it.
That's not ever what I was worried about. Like even if for say, like I was asking, would you impose it? I would be for it. I was just saying, where do these values collide? That's all I was concerned about in the first place. I wasn't like,
right.
Children won't get culture. I was just, will this conflict with the values of respecting diverse cultures?
Yeah, and my argument is that it isn't. It won't.
So are we going to have this child services agency that says we don't think you're raising your kids right, and we're going to take them away because we don't think we don't approve of the way you're raising your kids?
You're not going to be raising your
Okay.
kids.
But how do you constrict them from raising their? I don't know. Like, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, I think it's perfectly natural for human beings to all species raise their young. They teach them these lessons.
Oh, there's a tremendous number of things that throughout history have been considered perfectly natural, which radicals have dashed, and this is one of those things that's going to happen. This is simply I know it's completely against every inclination that we seem to have. But we also have not put ourselves in situations where you've never even thought of this before. Let's face it, right?
No. I thought
have you?
No. Okay.
This is very new, and I can wholly appreciate that.
Native
but that
cultures kind of had this idea. They would have a village, and their kids would run around and go to different houses and sleep wherever at night, and everybody would raise their kids. But it was different. They had a lot more freedom, and kids had more freedom in native cultures. But it was like a monoculture. It was just this.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, what we're doing is, yes, we are. If we were to put institutions in place that had to run around doing that all the time, and we had a situation where our society familially looked like it does now, we'd have a government that was constantly intervening, right?